my dream and my passion was around art and calligraphy, and you gave me an open door to see how I can make that into something that I could pursue more full time. The Craft Academy opened up this community where everybody was in the same boat and they could believe that they could. If somebody is thinking about doing this, be brave and invest in yourself. If I could now go back and do what I did 12 months earlier, I would.
Hello, beautiful bosses. Welcome to our channel. I wanted to introduce myself. My name's Rosie. I'm the artist behind Wandercrafter. I'm also the creator and the coach of the Craft Academy, where I help calligraphers create, automate, and scale their calligraphy businesses based on their unique story and methodology. And ever since I started my business in 2017, I've made so many mistakes, wasted lots of time, lots of money. And, after honing in and niching down to engraving and live events, I have been able to work with my amazing dream brands like Dior, YSL, and Ferrari, which has been such a thrill. And I am now on a mission to help other calligraphy entrepreneurs like Nimisha, and for any of our viewers here, to work with their own dream brands and accelerate their path to success so that they can also create the life that they want to live. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more fun and educational videos just like this one. So I'm so excited to introduce Nimisha. She's the artist behind Inkspiration Artist in Manchester, UK. She's been able to transform her calligraphy business from 2022 to 2024 today. And in just 2 very short years of being in the Craft Academy, she's actually been able to turn her hobby into a more intentional business that's replaced her corporate income. And she's been able to work with amazing brands like Cleef, Moncler, Radley, Chloé, Lululemon, just to name a few. And there's so much more out there that she's done. And I'm so excited for her to tell her story. So Nimisha, can you tell us your journey to entrepreneurship?
Hi, sure. Hi, everyone. So Nimisha Nim, as Rosie said, I'm based in the UK, so it's in the northwest of England. I would say there's lots of opportunities here, but lots of the work that people do is much more around corporate world. I've been doing calligraphy for probably all of my life without realizing it. I've always loved drawing. I've always loved painting, anything creative. I was there, but I was never, I never ever thought that it would be an opportunity for something that I could do as a job. It was always my pastime. It was always something that I would go to relax. And then probably in about 2012, I started doing a little bit of work for myself and for friends and family around me. So what that was calligraphy. I bought the same story as lots of people say. They bought one of those sets from a stationery shop, started doing some calligraphy, and anybody who wanted something personalizing, I was like, I'll do that. So personalizing cards, writing on envelopes. If there was a paper, I would write on it. And then I remember in about 2012, somehow I had an opportunity to work with a rather large football company to do some calligraphy escort cards for VIP events. So again, I just thought I'm more than happy to do them. I felt quite lucky that somebody had asked me to put my words on paper for them. So I did that for a few years, and then somebody paid me for it, and I was like, wow, you can get paid to do this.
Yeah.
And that really started my interest in calligraphy, and it kind of opened my eyes that actually you could do this as something that could generate income. At that time, again, it was just mainly commissions. So if people contacted me, I would do that on my personal social media page. I would occasionally put the work that I'd done, and people would comment and they'd like, but it was just, I would say, a little bit of fun. So it wasn't anything too serious. And if somebody said, could you do this for me? No matter what the project, the answer was always yes. Mm-hmm. And the 10 minutes it would take me to do something, I spent hours and hours fine-tuning, buying paper, trying different pens, inks, everything to make anybody happy around what I did. And then probably I would say the big changing point for me was COVID. Obviously you would learn on YouTube, you'd go on Instagram and things like that, and you'd pick up on different things. But it was quite a small community. You'd see things locally, but you wouldn't really see anything at a really world kind of level in terms of what people were doing. And I think when COVID happened and we were all online, it was probably the first opportunity I had to access mainly artists in America who were doing different things. And I was like, ooh, what's this pointed pen thing? You know, and it was just, you could really learn what people were doing by watching. And that really just ignited my passion in terms of what is it that I can learn? What can I do? So then I started doing calligraphy and engraving. Well, I started doing calligraphy a little bit more seriously as a practice. So it was, I would say, making sure that I had the skills to be able to be consistent with what I did. So I would say the first part of my journey was all about learning. And then I decided for a Christmas present, I would want an engraver. And that is the bit that changed everything for me, because then it opened up a whole world of you could do this for an event. And I remember just before I joined the Craft Academy, it was just after COVID had finished, I was contacted on social media to say, we've got an event going on locally, would you mind engraving for, and it was Dior. And I was like, God, I get to work for Dior. So of course I said yes. And that was the first paid event that I had, and it was like a bug. I was there, I was in the zone. I just loved everything about it. I loved how it felt. I loved the reaction it gave to customers, and I just thought, I want that. And that's then when I would say was a turning point in making this a more serious enterprise, really.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's where
I feel
it's
like I could just watch and listen to you all day. I love your story so much. And I love that you just like had this in your like repertoire your entire life, and it just took like just a moment to sit down and be able to hone in on that craft and make better and really start working, right? And like now you're hooked. This is like your main gig now, and I love it. So tell me about like the shift from the moment you decided to turn your hobby into a business, and then like when you started to, when you considered joining the Craft Academy and why?
Sure. So I think the big shift was probably when I was watching other people online. Everybody gets that imposter syndrome. We still get it now. I still get it now. Mm-hmm. And it was that bit around, I could see that other people were doing this as their main job, or they were doing things more frequently than I felt like I was doing. And that just made me really curious to say, well, what are they doing? What can I do to be able to be at that level? And I think for me, the shift was I was putting in the hours of practice. I was learning and, you know, taking in anything and everything that I could. I was just thinking, well, what more can I do with the skills that I've got, the transferable skills that I've got? So essentially what I then did was I looked at all of my skills and what I had and what I wanted for my future. And I'd say probably after COVID and going back into things like retail shops, everything felt different. Mm-hmm. And I think I was much more tuned into what does a customer experience look like. So in my mind, I always thought that when I first started thinking that this was something that I would like and enjoy to do, I always thought that you would do calligraphy and personalization at home. And I think once we all started going back out, I realized that actually this is a customer experience, and I love working with people. And I just thought, actually, there's something there that you can really tap into. So I'd probably say that was the shift. And I'd probably say that was then when I thought, right, okay, how do I make this into a business? And then it just so happened that at the time, the Craft Academy came up on my social media feed. I saw that there was people that we had mutually in common that were also talking about the mentoring program and what they did. And I just thought, oh, that's really interesting. And at the time I was looking for some sort of mentorship. Rosie, you reached out to me and you said, did you want to book in a call? I did. And I just thought, there's no way on God's green earth this is for me. I genuinely thought, I'll give it a try. I suppose the conversation with yourself where I thought to myself, actually, could I actually do this? And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm going to have a call with yourself and we're going to talk about what this future looks like. And even at that point, I thought, this is not for me. But I was curious to find out. And then when we had the conversation and I thought to myself afterwards, reflecting, actually, could I do this? And I think that's probably what the shift was. It's a mind shift more than anything else to say, actually, if you're going to invest in yourself and you're going to invest in the time, what is it that you truly want, rather than, I suppose, what we are told that you're meant to do. And that's when I thought my dream and my passion was around art and calligraphy. And you gave me an open door to see how I can make that into something that I could pursue more full time. So that's kind of what the change was for me. It was the fact that somebody believed that I could. And I remember the conversation thinking, actually, no. And I was apologetic for what I was doing. And it's a British thing, isn't it? You apologize for everything. But I thought to myself, can I do this? And before then, it was only my family around me who believed that I could. I didn't believe that I could. But the Craft Academy opened up this community where everybody was in the same boat and they could believe that they could. And then I saw some of the people who had been through the Craft Academy and I was like, oh my God, I follow them. I love them. They're like gods. So I was thinking, well, if I can get there, I will be more than happy even if I had a little bit of that skill. So that was the change for me. And that's probably where it really, really made me think about what it is that I want to make my life ambition to be, rather than just following the path that had already been laid out for me. Scary, but anything that's worth getting is scary, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, so much good stuff in there. I recommend going back and re-listening to that because that was just amazing. I love that you talked about having the community and seeing what everyone else is able to do online and knowing that that path could be for you. And just the fact that like everyone around you believes in you, but you don't. And to be able to see the thing that you actually want to do actually being done by hundreds of other people is like such a beacon of light for you. And just being able to take that leap unto yourself and knowing that, yes, business is going to be scary. Yes, that's never been done before. You know what lies ahead of you in the corporate world, but you don't know what lies ahead of you in the art world. And taking that chance and dive on yourself is such a huge step. So I do want to commend you for that. And for anyone else who's listening, who's considering the same, Nimisha has done it. And we have almost 200 people in the Craft Academy who have done it now, which is crazy to think. It's still mind-blowing. So it's just amazing. Thank you so much, Nimisha, for sharing that story and inspiring everyone who's watching and me. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your story. So we talked about your beginnings of your business, kind of where you were before the Craft Academy, and now you making that shift and mindset shift into you really doubling down on your business and betting on yourself, essentially. So once you joined the Craft Academy, what do you feel like was the biggest change that like helped you change your business once you started the program?
The biggest change was believing in myself. The biggest shift for me really was going on to the coaching calls, because there's something where you have to show a certain amount of vulnerability when you turn up to these calls, because you have to be honest with yourself. And if you're not honest with yourself and you're not honest about the questions you want to ask, you won't get much out of it. And I think I was ready to think, actually, I need to be pushed. And I think for me, it was a fact that there were people around that could help and you didn't feel like you were so alone. Mm-hmm. And also people asking questions that you don't want to answer, and really trying to get to the heart of what you're being asked rather than the surface level question. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of work, that deep work, sits with you quite differently. And I'm an absolute perfectionist. And in the corporate world, if I don't know an answer to something, I turn up to everything 100% prepared. And I think for the first time in my life, I felt like I was slightly out of my comfort zone, only because I didn't have all the answers prepared. So for me, the difference now is I feel like now I can turn up to a coaching call and I can share some support and advice to other people. And I think maybe that's something that I never anticipated that I would get out of the program, is that I can help other people that are earlier on in the journey. And if I look back, I reached out to other people that were in the Craft Academy for help and support for different things as well. And that support is immeasurable. We have a small community in the UK now that are all crafties. We support each other, we help each other. But equally, I feel like I'm part of a bigger group of people, a bigger group of gals that all help each other. And, you know, when you're having a rubbish day, or you just feel like you've had a poor experience, or you've reached out to brands and you're not hearing anything back, these people are there regardless to help you. That's just the coaching calls, but the program has lots of other things. Honestly, I love learning, and the material that comes with the academy, you learn so much. Like, I've been in the program for, I probably say, joining 2022, 2023 New Year's resolution, 2023 my ambition was, I'm going to smash the work, I'm going to get where I need to be, I'm going to learn everything. And it doesn't work like that. You have to go forward, you need to go back, you need to revisit. But there's so many actionable steps that you take that changes your path. There's things that I've stopped doing. There's things that I do more. You have to listen to what the brands want. I think one of my biggest takeaways is I always used to look at it in terms of what did I want to see and who was my market that I was gearing up for, not necessarily who is at the other end of the table that you're exchanging with. And that little tiny shift is, you're not doing this for other artists, you're doing this for other clients, other businesses, other customers that are coming along. And sometimes probably tactical information for me in terms of business sense is, you can't do everything. I used to say yes to absolutely any project that walked through the door. Mm-hmm. Actually, now I'll turn around and say, that's not in my wheelhouse, but this person can do this. I can do this. And I'm more confident now to turn around and say, that's not something that sits with my skill. And you've got to be brave to turn around and say, that's not what I want to do. So now I think where I am in my business is, I'm much more confident about what I want to do, who I want to work with, and the type of projects that I want to engage with. But at the same time, I feel like I'm quite humble that I appreciate the fact that I'm still learning. We never stop learning, and there are always going to be people who are further along than you, and people who are still walking in your footsteps and learning. And I always try, if someone reaches out to me, I will always remember that other people helped me along my journey, so I would always want to do the same. And I feel with the Craft Academy, I feel like I've still got that support and help. So no matter where you are on that journey of making your business and people want different things. Some people want it as their hobby and make it more sustainable. Other people want this to be their main job. Other people just want to develop their skills. Wherever you are on that journey, there is always going to be someone else there that would help. And if I'm feeling like a little bit lost, and especially when I was transitioning and wanting to do this more as my main job and transition from the corporate world, when I had those doubts and I just think to myself, I feel a little bit lost, I will jump on a call. And the calls help me then, because then I can take that away from me, and it just gives you that confidence boost, that reassurance. Or if you haven't got the time, the Facebook group's amazing, because if you feel too stupid to ask a question, put it in the chat and you get an answer. It's great. So that's kind of where I am now, and I feel now I'm not scared of asking those questions, because I know the people have been there before. Mm-hmm. And when other people ask that question, or the questions that I have asked, and I wanted to ask, and I was never brave enough to turn up and ask that question, I now look at that thinking, I wish I'd asked that question. But yeah, it's just, now I feel like I'm in the right spot to be open to whatever's going to come next. Yeah. And hopefully this means that I can do this for as long as I'm able to. But it's just being open to the fact that actually this could be what you love doing, could be your main job. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So that's kind of what, I don't know if I answered the question, but that's what I kind of am now.
No, you definitely answered the questions and went beyond it. I think it's just amazing to hear your story and just like all of it all at once, like 2 years summarized into 5 to 10 minutes of it. And it's just amazing to hear how much support you've gotten and how much you've changed in those 2 years, not only just betting on yourself, but betting on your business and investing. But you're also able to like pay it forward, right? Like when you're investing in a coaching program, I do feel like you want someone who's just like a little bit ahead of you, and you want to be with other people who are at your level and beyond that, and be able to grow with those people. And what's great about the Craft Academy is that it is a lifetime membership. Like Nimisha has been in it for 2 years now. The first year was totally different than the second year, and it's only up from here. And the fact that it is a lifetime membership means that I get to be there with you. So like where I am, Nimisha is going to be in a couple of years, and I get to hold her hand and help her through all of those processes. And if she wants to change her business and do something else, we can help with that. Right? There's so many people in the program who have different artistries and different intentions. And honestly, no matter where you want to take your business, there's going to be someone who can help you with that. So I'm really excited. Honestly, just super happy that Nimisha chose to invest in the program and herself and me as her mentor. It means the world to me that you've been able to take the lessons and really apply it to a different country. So speaking of that, did that ever cross your mind where, the Craft Academy is based in the US? We know the US market backwards and forwards. How did those lessons translate into the UK industry?
Yeah. So I'd probably say that that was one of my first questions. This is based in America. It's not going to apply to the UK, however, or another country. However, what I would say now is lots of the things that I experienced from working with the Craft Academy is that some countries are more further along than others. So lots of the lessons that some of the people have already learned is applicable now. So I would say, I'm experiencing things now that would have been on a coaching call 12 months ago that I would have thought, well, that doesn't apply to me, but it does. I mean, there are some differences. Obviously, some of the business side of things and what you do for your company is a bit different. Mm-hmm. However, the lessons are the same. And what's great is, even if it doesn't apply to your country, there's somebody else on that call to say, why don't you try this? This works in this place. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I would say is that I have a decent community in the UK that you connect with anywhere. But the linking in with other people who have worked in different areas, because brands are brands. So say, for example, you're working with, I'll use Van Cleef or whoever the brand is, brands are international. So if a brand is working with someone in America or in Canada, those brands have the same expectations no matter what country you work in. So that information translates quite easily. But lots of the work that you do around the business side of things and the work you need to do on yourself is universal. It doesn't matter where you are. That work has to be done on yourself. And those questions apply whether you have a creative business or whether you are just looking to go out on your own or whether you are looking to transition in your career. Those questions translate anyway. So I think that there's lots to learn for anybody, no matter what journey you want to go in. Because those questions are, you change the subject, the questions still apply. And the key thing for me and the biggest lesson I can take from it is you have to be honest with what your barriers are, what your challenges are, and what you are willing to put in. And even though the Craft Academy is there alongside everything, it's that work that you have to do on yourself. And the resources that you get hit differently in terms of how you need to apply that learning to yourself, depending on where you are up to. And I know that there are people who have looked at those resources and said, I'm not ready for that bit yet, I'll come back to it. And the program, one of the things that I love about the program is you can come back and revisit bits and pieces. And because I like writing everything down, you can go back and then see how you've grown. And oh my word, that's such a big confidence boost around those lessons learned. But I think that I think now we have quite a diverse community in terms of people who tune in from different countries, or people who contribute from different places. And that only adds to the program more than taking anything away from it. So I don't think that the geography of where it takes place is an issue. My only issue had been making sure that I prioritize the phone calls, because like you say, we're in different time zones, but there are different time zones that work for different people. But that's just something that you just need to schedule in. And if you schedule that in like you would a work meeting, it's no different, is it really? So that's probably the only barrier that I had once I started the program. But what I now do is schedule that in.
Yeah. And then you can always post on the Facebook group, and we have, again, people from all over the world and in your time zone. So if you post something, you're likely going to hear from someone else anyway. So there's just like so much access that you have that's 24/7. And we do talk twice a week in our group coaching calls, which has been amazing. What I also really love and want to kind of point out here is that even though we are in different countries, the US is kind of leading the way in all the live events, right? And so our industry is a little bit more advanced than you. And I love that you said like, oh, the US is like 12 months ahead of time, and like something that people are doing 12 months ago are like now coming to the UK. And so that kind of means that you are setting the trend there because you know what works in different countries. So having that experience to pull from multiple people has just been amazing. Let me ask you, what is like the price? So let's talk about pricing in the US versus the UK. What is your current hourly kind of standard?
So I would probably say that we're about 75% of what the UK charges, and it depends. US charges, apologies. But the rate varies because it depends on whether you are getting a booking direct or whether you're working with somebody else who's getting that work. So it varies quite a lot in the UK. I wouldn't want to say what the rate is, only because I know that almost becomes a sticking point for lots of people. And
right, and it's going to change, right?
Yeah, and I think that's not the purpose. It's about where you are in that journey and what value you're going to put on yourself, and how much work and admin you want to take yourself or not. So, you know, if you're comfortable working with a couple of brands and you want to do that and you just want to hone your skill, great. But if you want to work with more brands, what the Craft Academy teaches you is the tools to be able to do both. So go out and pitch on your own and go and try and get corporate clients, or how to work with other people and do kind of collaborative projects. Or not. You know, there are people who would just prefer to do work at home and do the in-studio work, which is absolutely fine. So I think there isn't a hard and fast rule on the cost. What I would say personally is the biggest change that I have personally had since I joined the academy and I got my first job in 2022, I would say that my rate has increased 100%, I'd probably say. Is where I am now. And in terms of the my worth, I will more than happily say no to a brand because it doesn't match with the rate that I'm wanting, and I'm comfortable saying no, whereas before I used to say absolutely yes to everything. If we're not aligned, that's absolutely fine. I know that there's people that will work, and there are people who are waiting for that first opportunity. So great, go for that first opportunity. But for me now, I put a value on what my skill set is, and I will work with what that is and the brands that want to pay that amount as well. Because, you know, I do think that the cost around for artists in particular, I think the time and effort we put into the practice and honing our skill is something that needs to be factored into your pricing. So if you Absolutely. You are ace at calligraphy and that is all you do, and you are doing that at a really, really high level, you deserve to be paid for that skill. And I genuinely do believe that.
Oh my gosh, love it. Yes, there's so many different factors to consider, and really it's not a black and white answer, right? There's always some gray area, depends on your skill set, what you're doing, where you're doing it. There's so much more to it, and that's really the value of the coaching calls and the program, is that we give you kind of the starting rate and what it is in your industry and your area, and then we talk about it on the coaching calls to make sure that everyone's aligned, right? Because you don't want to underprice yourself and impact the industry in your local area. So it's awesome. Thank you so much for giving us your insight on that. So I'm curious to hear more about your experience in taking your corporate full-time job and turning it into a part-time job because your calligraphy business is taking off. So tell us more about that story.
Okay, so I think my biggest realization was I said no to events because my corporate job took the priority, and I had to really have that conversation with myself to say, actually, why am I doing that when this is what I love doing? So probably about March this year, I decided that I wanted to make it more full-time. So one of the things I'm really fortunate for and grateful for is that I got to a point in March where I was working 7 days a week because I was working 5 days a week for my corporate job. And then thankfully I had events most weekends. And I would turn up for them 100% because that is what I love doing. And there were started to become opportunities where I could do it midweek, but I was always having to say no because I was working, I couldn't make it work. If there was an occasional evening job, then I would turn up for that. And, I was working long days anyway. So my normal corporate world with the travel, because I do travel for work, was something like 12 to 16 hours a day. And then I would then do my weekends, and something had to give. And then in March, I kind of thought to myself, actually, this is the bit that I don't want to give up on. How do I make things change? So part of it, if I'm honest, Rosie, is about really being brave and having the support around me to be able to take that next step. And it kind of went back to, we have some methods that we do in the Craft Academy, and I went back to my original intention that I set when Rosie and I first had our conversation of what is it that you want. And I thought to myself, well, actually, this is what I wanted. So who's stopping me here? It's me. So I made the decision to make some changes. So turning my full-time job into a part-time job, I have to say, has not been easy. And I would probably say that because that was my goal for a while, I've created enough of a comfort blanket to allow myself the space and the time not to feel the pressures of having to succeed right now. I will continue to work part-time. And so the way I see it now is I want to work corporately part-time so that I can invest in my art business, being an artist full-time. There's no easy way of doing it. It's just about understanding what you want to prioritize and at what point. And everyone will have different pressures, and they will have different things that they need to juggle and things that they will need to make an informed decision on. For me, this is the perfect time to do this. And then if it works for me, and fingers crossed, in 12 months' time, I can look back and think, oh, actually, I can do this full time. Then that is ideally what my next path would be. So because you don't have to do everything from 0 to 100 in one step, right. What I'm doing is taking an educated and informed decision to go 50%, more like 65%. And then when I've done this for a period of time, so I can see where the longevity is, I will then make the decision, hopefully, to see if I can take that further. And I think for me now, that's where I see my business. And it has taken a very long time to stop talking about the calligraphy and engraving as calligraphy and engraving art, and see myself as my profession being an artist. And seeing my business as a business. And that's the hardest thing to do when you are your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's definitely so a hard balance, right? We have a lot of people who watch these interviews who are in the same step that you were last year, where you had the full-time job, but you also had Inkspiration Artist. So how did you balance all of that? Because it sounds like you had really long 12 to 14-hour days in your corporate job. How did you balance building your business while also maintaining a more than full-time job?
It was, I suppose, making the time. So weekends became Inkspiration Artist time. So regardless of whether you're an event or not, you always work on your business. And I'd probably say in the last 12 months, I've probably spent less time doodling and practicing art and doing more work on the business side. And it is admin. It is, a lot of stuff that work. You need to do paperwork. You need to get all your ducks in a row. So my main time was evenings and weekends. So what I would do is if I came home after work, we'd have dinner, we'd do what we need to do, and then I'd spend an hour. You don't need to do it all in one go. So I gave myself the permission to spend an hour doing that. Or on a weekend, instead of watching Netflix and binging on a series, I'd say, okay, I'm going to do this and then we'll do Netflix. So it's a balance. and
prioritizing and balancing.
Absolutely. And you know, if it is absolutely a prioritization task, but I did it slowly, and I did it and that felt manageable to me.
It sounds like you were very intentional about your time too.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
like that you said that. One of the exercises in the Craft Academy in Module 1 is assessing your time and looking at where you're spending time, potentially wasting time, and really just taking those bits and pieces to really dedicate to your business. And an hour a day, it sounds so manageable, right? Like just allowing yourself 1 hour, not like, let me just get this website done, because like the website is going to take a long time, right? Like you're not going to be able to carve out like your website in just 1 hour, right? So being able to take those bits and pieces and honestly just being super intentional about it and taking the lessons of the Craft Academy and knowing what to prioritize in that 1 hour makes a huge difference too, because you're putting in lessons that you know have worked, not only for other people in the program, but you know is going to work for yourself too.
Yeah, and so for example, on the website, I know that there's different approaches on this. So I went on the mentality of I'm not going to put anything on my website until it's 100% perfect. And then I remember going on a coaching call and someone said, it's never going to be perfect. Just press the button. So, you know, you do that, but you're always changing the content that you've got in there. But equally, it's really important that anyone listening understands that actually, if that isn't your skill set and you haven't got the time and that's stressing you out to say, I can't do the website, there are options where you can get other people to help you. And really understanding the value of your time is one of the biggest things. So if you haven't got, you know, however many hours to develop your website, and if you've got the ability to be able to use some of the money that you've invested in yourself and some of the money that you get from your event to put into your website design, or maybe some branded photos, because you know that's going to work for you, do it. It's different things work for different people. You know, you can learn things. So for example, if you are the type of person who goes on social media and you're looking at things, be intentional with what you're looking at. You know, go on to look at other people's pages to see actually what are they doing. And it's not about copying, it's about learning. And now when I look at social media, I look to social media to learn rather than look into social media just to like and comment, because you're applying the things that you like in a business mindset. So there are things you can do, but for me, for the website, I really enjoyed doing that, because to be honest with you, I like the idea that you're putting in all the words that mean something to you. You know, everything that you put into your business comes from yourself. And if you think about it, you're promoting and advertising yourself for brands and people to work with you. So the person who is the best advocate is you.
Yeah. And that's so difficult, right? Because people don't know how to talk about themselves. Like I still feel really shy about talking about myself sometimes. And being able to talk to people just like Nimisha and other people in the Craft Academy has been super helpful in that. So, you know, that's awesome. I love all of the things that you talked about. There's so many good gems in today's interview. So I hope that whoever's watching, please rewatch this whole thing because it's amazing. So let's move on to the tactical tip portion of our interview. I know we talked a lot about it already. So if you could give one piece of tactical advice, Nimisha, what would it be?
If somebody is thinking about doing this, be brave and invest in yourself. And that's probably the one. If I could now go back and do what I did 12 months earlier, I would. And it's because it's so hard, isn't it, when you're asking to take a leap of faith and invest in yourself, because it's uncomfortable. However, if you invest in yourself, other people will invest in you. And for me, that's what the program has done for me. Is it's allowed me to develop and work with, oh my God, dream clients that I never ever thought of. So I've got a booking in the next few weeks of a client that I put on my list. You know, they are on my list. I wrote a list of all the brands I want to work with, and I'm going to be working with them. And it's like a pinch me moment. But if you think like that, and you just think, if I invest in myself now, where would you be in 12 months time? And honestly, I don't know if this is tactical information or not, but when I started, I was thinking, I feel like an imposter. This is just a dream. It's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. But because you're taking such small steps, and that those incremental tiny milestones that you take every single day adds up to a big step. And then before you know it, you're 6 months down the line, you've booked a dream client, and then you're on site with them. And the feeling that you get is unreal. I would say for anybody who is thinking about doing that, just do it. Be brave and just do it. Believe in yourself. Invest in yourself, because if you don't invest in yourself, how can other people invest in you? And I know that's a bit cheesy, but genuinely, I just think that if I hadn't taken that leap of faith in myself, I would still just be really grateful for somebody reaching out and liking a comment or a post on my social media and being paid at a lower rate and not knowing the value of my time or the effort that it takes to get to where you are, where you should be. So just do it. What have you got to lose?
Yes, exactly. What do you have to lose? When you talk about this and you talk about yourself and your business and your experience, I can see the joy in your eyes. Like you're literally sparkling and glowing, and it's just so awesome to see as a coach, to like know that I had a small part in helping you get there. And it's just been honestly a dream for me to see you grow as an individual, as an artist, and then even help the UK industry grow and reach the US kind of standard too, has just been such a joy for me. And I'm so thankful that you invested not only in yourself, but in our program. And it's just been amazing. So I guess to close out today's interview, what would you tell yourself back when you first started your business, knowing what you know now?
Don't undervalue or underappreciate yourself. That's probably my biggest takeaway.
Amazing. Yeah. I just like, as an artist, you think things are so easy for yourself, and you think there's no way someone would pay me hundreds or thousands of dollars to do this, right? Like, I'm just writing with my hand. I'm using a pen, and it's so simple and so easy for us that you convince yourself that you're not worthy of that value, and you truly are. And Nimisha is an amazing example of that, being able to hone in a skill that she's had her entire life and turn it into a full-blown career. It's been 2 years, 2 amazing years with Nimisha, and she's grown so much. It's been such a joy to see all of this grow for her, and I know this is just the beginning. So Nimisha, what's next for Inkspiration Artist?
Okay, so one of the things that I set myself to do at the beginning is I was only doing events locally. So I've already started. So December, it's Christmas season. So I'm already regional, and I'm moving up and down the country with my art and my work, which I'm really pleased at. I'd say my biggest goal, 2 goals. One is I want to work nationally and internationally in terms of what I do, and spread the joy that I love bringing to people locally. And secondly would be, I want to do this full time. I want this to be the only thing that I do. And then I can help with other people in terms of the program. And ideally, I would love to be able to share my experience with other people and pay that back, as you said.
That sounds so fun, so amazing. I know I want to go to the UK, meet you guys all in person. Maybe we can work an event together. You guys recently did your first group event in the UK, right?
Yeah, so there was a group event just a couple of weeks ago, and it was just looked amazing. And
oh my gosh, it's so fun.
And again, it's the same in the US. People are working all the way up and down the country, so you don't always see people, but it's so cool when you bump into someone at a local event and you think, oh my god, you're there. Those little things really matter. So if you've got someone who is 50 miles down the road, where you can say, I've just got this issue, will you help me? People help. This is a small community. It's a big community, but a small community, and everyone is so helpful. And in the corporate world, we don't really do that bit where we help others. And the international calligraphy community in the widest sense are so helpful. There is always someone who you can reach out to, and you can ask for advice, guidance, help, and they will offer it. And that is amazing. And I think for me, if I could do some live events with, or take learnings from people who I absolutely admire face to face. That would be a dream. If I could do that with my art, that would be just next level. But yeah, so for me, I'm going to be, I've got until the end of this academic year, this year, and then I am going to reset my goals in January. And instead of doing 12 months of a goal, I'm going to do 2 years of a goal. So I have that longer term projection around what I want to do and how I want to progress. And I think part of this is around understanding the trends. You mentioned trends earlier. It's understanding what's coming and going, because you will, as artists, we need to grow with the things that customers want, that clients want. And I think you've got to be really open to that. So ideally what I'd like to do is to really understand how the retail world works, how brands work, because you just pick up so much information. There's so many opportunities out there if you're just willing to have a little look and open your eyes to it. So for me, it's just about being open to doing different things with different people. And if there are some creative projects that you could really be creative around, be completely open and help transform someone's vision who hasn't maybe got the skill set, that would be amazing. So yeah, so more live events, more international events, ideally. And some really exciting projects would be a dream.
I love it. Yes. So speaking it into the world, you're manifesting it. I just know big things are coming for you, Nimisha. So if someone wanted to connect with you, where would they find you?
Okay, so on Instagram, I am at Inkspiration Artist, and I also have a website. It's www.inspirationartist.com. Send me a message if you want any help or advice. Please connect. Rosie has a directory as well, so go and check that out. There's just so much in there, and if you want someone locally to you, particularly speaking to people in Europe and the UK, if you have got someone who is local, reach out to them. They will share their own experiences and their own journeys. We're all on different paths, but yeah, just reach out.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So I'll put your handle on the screen. So if anyone wants to reach out to Nimisha and talk to her about the industry, about the Craft Academy, the UK, all the fun things, definitely feel free to reach out to her. Also, feel free to reach out to me as well. I love chatting with people and reaching and connecting with new calligraphers. So please reach out to any one of us. We're super happy to connect with you. And with this transformation that Nimisha has experienced in just 2 short years in the Craft Academy, I am here to prove to you that our methods do work around the world, even though we are primarily based in the US. We've got people in UK, Germany, New Zealand, Canada, Australia, and it's just been amazing helping people pioneer the way for other calligraphers in their area. So if this interview resonated with you, please go ahead and book a call with me or my team by going to watercrafter.com/apply, and we can help you build your business and really set the intention and help you build a sustainable business so that you can enjoy it for many, many years to come. So with that, thank you so much, Nimisha, for coming on and sharing your story. You are just the most beautiful gem of a person. I'm so happy we got to connect and tell your story.
Thank you, Rosie.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe and do all the things, and we'll connect later. Bye.
Bye.